Hello everyone, Ben here with a solo game of Bars Genesis. So in this solo game you have two colours of your choice. In this case it's going to be green and blue with respective bounce and starting catalysts, and then the two remaining colours, in this case red and yellow, are going to be AI parasites, and we'll see how those work later on. And then in the event deck you have 6 Hadean era cards to start with. You shuffle them up, you discard 3 of them, so you're left with 3. You have the Archean era cards as normal, and then at the bottom you have your Proterozoic era cards, and you would shuffle those up and discard 1 of them. However, this is going to be an optional short game where we've shuffled them up and discarded 4 of them. So a slightly shorter event deck, slightly shorter game. However, not quite short enough. The optional short game is still fairly long, so this is going to probably be several sessions worth, so I will be putting cuts in. Hopefully that won't disrupt the game too much. We'll see how it goes. So we have several phases to go through in a turn, and they are handily listed on the back of the manual, so the turn sequence. So we have the event phase, assignment, then you have your autocatalytic rolls and your Darwin rolls, and then your purchase phase, and then you go into the next turn. So to begin with, we have our event phase, and you simply take the top card of the deck and then do the event, basically. So meteoritic accretion is the current event, and there is some very nice flavor text on the card, as is the case with basically the refugium and the mutations and various other bits and pieces, and it's well worth a read if you're interested in this kind of topic. But the only things that really pertain to gameplay are the icons on the left, the bottom right, and then the top right for the player order. So our first event, and we have the landform icons here. So cosmic, ocean, coastal, and continental. The grayed out icons indicate those landforms that are currently inactive, and then the bolded icons indicate landforms that are going to become active. So the cosmic landform and the ocean landform are the ones that are going to currently become active. So we have cosmic and ocean at the top here. So all you have to do to make it active is simply flip over the relevant card on the top of the stack to show that they are now active landforms. And then another part of it is also to royal the relevant mutation deck. So that simply means you take the top card of the relevant mutation deck and you put it to the bottom of the stack, and then that is sufficiently roiled. So we have those there, and then that is all that is basically necessary for the landforms, and then you follow the icons on the bottom right to determine what particular events come up that may affect refugia and or your organisms. So at the moment we have a smite event, which is the green circle, and if there were any refugia currently out, then the smite event would start stripping off their enzymes and then their mana cubes. However, there are no refugium, so that does not apply. However, the next couple of icons indicate that we are going to start creating some refugium. So the picture of the globe here with the comet coming from above indicates that you start from the top of the landform column and work your way down when creating refugia. If it was an eruption from below, then you would be at the bottom of the column and work your way up. So we need to start at the top of the landform column and then work our way down until we find an active landform and create the first refugia there. So you simply bring out the first available card and then apply disorganized matter to it. So in the case of the interplanetary dust, we need, as indicated by the cubes, 2 yellow and 1 green, and they go in the disorganized matter section at the bottom right. And then we are going to do this a second time with the second icon. So again, top down until you meet an active landform, and then you simply take the first card at the top of the stack and bring it out, so the deep hot biosphere, which needs relevant disorganized matter. And that is that. And then the only thing left on meteoritic accretion is going to be the warming or cooling icon, basically. So the red circle is a warming period. If it was a blue circle, it would be a cooling period. And these temperature changes basically are only relevant when it comes to doing the autocatalytic rolls and the odds of organizing matter. And also if you have a particular string of them, so a number of reds for a warming period or a number of blues for a cooling period, that would be a possible slide into Armageddon basically, and the game will be over. But as it is, we have just the one warming period on its own, so we are quite safe from Armageddon at the moment anyway. And then that is everything done on the event apart from the turn order. So green player is first, then red, then yellow, and then technically blue at the end. So this is now going to be the assignment phase, which is where the turn order comes in. So green will assign first their relevant balance, then red and yellow, and then blue. So to begin with, each of your player colours will get 1 biont as a bare minimum. So the number of bionts you can assign to Refugia is always going to be at least 1. This will hopefully change later on as we get organisms which allow us to increase our limit. But for the time being, it's just basically the 1 biont. So you take your biont and you can assign it to any active refugia. So refugia that are in current active rows. At the moment it's just the 2 there in the active cosmic landform row. So we can take our green biont and we can basically place it on either the interplanetary dust or the deep hot biosphere. The deep hot biosphere is quite nice because it is relatively stable. You only suffer poor effects on 5s and 6s. However, in order to assign yourself to the deep hot biosphere, you would need to give up a catalyst to do so. And at the moment, we only currently have 1 catalyst per player as their starting catalyst. So that is technically nice, but it would use up all the catalysts. So probably not quite worth it. So instead we may as well go for then the interplanetary dust and see what we can get done there basically. At the very least we'll hopefully organise and disorganise some matter which will provide us with some catalysts to then spend later on and maybe go along to the deep hot biosphere then. So we'll try that. So that was Green's assignment, and as part of assigning your biont to a refugia, you can also use your catalysts to block off poor effects that may come up on the autocatalytic roll. But I think we'll keep the biont for the time being, the catalyst for the time being, and we'll leave them there. So then it would technically be red and yellow. However, because they are the AI parasites, they can only assign themselves to hosts which have mutation cubes. We have no microorganisms that can act as hosts with mutation cubes, so they will skip out their assignment phase, and then we go straight to blue with its assignment. So again, the 1 biont limit, and blue may as well follow us to the interplanetary dust, and we'll both reside there together. And again, blue will keep its catalyst and not place it out. So now we come along to the autocatalytic roll, and you do this on all refugia which have bionts on them. So even if they're inactive refugium, they will still get an autocatalytic roll if they have bionts. So we have just the 1 to roll for the time being. and when you roll, it is 2 dice per biont, and if there is any organised mana at the top as well, it would be an extra die per organised mana cube. But at the moment it's just the 2 per biont, so a total of 4. And you roll the dice and you hope that bad stuff does not happen. Well, never mind then. Okay, so we're in a warming period at the moment as per the event card. So on the top of each Refugia card, it will show you what the odds are you basically need in order to organise mana in a warming period or in a cooling period. So currently in a warming period on the interplanetary dust, we would need 1s, 2s or 3s on our autocatalytic roll in order to organise mana from bottom to top. We rolled a 1, so we get to organise 1 mana cube and that is it. And green making the decisions, so probably the yellow. So green is currently the progenote of the card. Basically that means that if there is a contested refugia, i.e. if there is more than one biont on it, then it is split between the contested bionts, and the tie-break to determine who is the leader is the colour of, or the number of same-coloured enzymes first. So if green had more enzymes in its colour on the enzyme row, then that would break the tie. And the number of same-coloured organised mana. So if there were more enzymes and more organised mana cubes in a particular colour, that would break the tie for tie players. Currently they're still tied because there is neither of each, so it's still contested. So then it falls down to the mana structure to basically act as a tie-break. So we go along the available mana cubes and we can see that green is the first colour that comes up between the two tied players. So it is green and then blue. So green would be breaking the tie in its favour. So it would therefore become the progenote of the refugia for the autocatalytic roll. So this would mean that technically green would make the roll, but since it's us, we just make it anyway. And then it means that green makes all the decisions for which mana to organise and disorganise, and any catalysts that come back as compensation for mana death will go to blue as the runner-up. So what that means is, and we're going to see this right now, is that we have 3 4s that we rolled on the autocatalytic roll. So on 4s, not only do we suffer enzyme death, as in any enzyme we had assigned there would be discarded back to the soup, and we wouldn't get anything for them, they'd just be lost, but it also results in mana death on a 4 as well. So mana death is simply the disorganisation of organised mana back to the relevant area. So the yellow is going to come back as per that one, and then we need another further 2 mana death, but since there is no other disorganized mana available, then the other 2 mana death will start affecting the available bionts. So both green and blue will also come off as per mana death, unfortunately. So we will get compensation, however. So the yellow that got organised and then disorganised will come back and give up a catalyst as compensation, and this will go to the blue pair, who is basically runner-up on the card, so that will go to him. And then any bionts that were taken off as well will go back to their respective players with a catalyst of their colour as well to the individual players. So green will get its biont back and a catalyst, and blue will get its biont back with a catalyst. So not too bad. It was a bit of a failed roll, but at least we got some catalysts out of it. And we can certainly try again next turn. So that was the autocatalytic roll in its entirety, and then we would do technically Darwin rolls and then purchases, but since we have nothing to actually roll for and purchase for at the moment, no microorganisms, we will skip that and simply go on to the next event. So the next one is going to be the bowline water delivery. So that looks a bit more promising anyway. So we have the oceanic row as becoming active. So we need to flip over the cosmic landform card, so it is now an inactive row. The ocean landform will stay active, and we will roll the relevant mutation deck, like that. Then we have a couple of refugee creation, so again top down until we meet an active landform, which is going to be the ocean, and we bring out the first card, and then again we'll do it a second time. So we have the hydrothermal vent, we have the clay mound, and we need the relevant disorganized mana for each. So the hydrothermal vent is a particular favourite. It's not very good at organising mana, but once you're on there, it is very easy to block off ill effects in the autocatalytic roll, and you can just basically stay there for quite some time and just keep rolling and hoping to organise a relevant mana. Then we have a extremophile event. So this is basically a extremity of temperature, hot or cold, and this would affect again any organisms that we had in our relevant areas, but since we have none we can safely ignore it for the time being. There will be plenty of further extremophile events later on, which may very well cause us problems, but for the time being we're fine. And then we can see that it is a blue temperature change next, so we are going into a cooling period. So this will now cover up the previous warming period, as we have started a new string of icons. So this is the first cooling period, so we now have to worry about basically going into a cooling period Armageddon. But that is fine for the time being. And then player order is yellow, red, green, and then blue. So again, yellow and red cannot do any assignments because they have nothing to attach onto, so we will skip them. So green is the first actual player assignment, and it has its buyout, and it has a couple of catalysts. So we could very well, we can only assign to the ocean now. It is the only active landform row we can assign to. So basically it's a choice between the hydrothermal vent or the clay mound. We are in a cooling period. So the hydrothermal vent is quite nice, as I said. You can easily block off poor effects in the autocatalytic roll with a couple of catalysts as enzymes to block off those negative effects. However, it does only organise mana on a 1, whether it's warming or cooling, so it's a bit slow to get stuff organised. The clay mound might be a good idea, actually. So it is a cooling period, so it's not as suitable for organising mana as a warming period would be, but it's still pretty good, and you can easily block off at least mana death on a 4, if not mana death on a 5 if you expend a few more catalysts. So maybe the clay mound, actually. Yes. I think we might get onto the clay mound first, hopefully before some smite events start stripping off this disorganised mana. So green will come to the clay mound, and green will take a catalyst and place it there. Do we want 2 catalysts maybe? We'll give it another catalyst from green's collection, and we'll do that, because then blue can assign, and blue will take its buyout, and blue will put one of its catalysts as an enzyme there. So you have to place catalysts from left to right to fill up the relevant row. And now we have basically blocked off mana death on a 4 and mana death on a 5. So hopefully when we roll the autocatalytic roll, we will only roll less than 6s basically, and certainly 1s and 2s to start organising the mana. Excuse me a second. So we are done with the assignment. So now we will go into the autocatalytic roll, and again we're rolling 4 dice, so 2 for the green buyout, 2 for the blue, and we certainly want to see 1s and 2s, and definitely no 6s. Well, that could have gone a lot worse, certainly. So we have A1, which will, in a warming period, organise mana, cooling period, sorry. So green as the progenote now, because it has the most enzymes of its colour and organised matter, even though there is none of its colour, compared to blue's 1. So green will make the decisions. So green will probably put up a red. And then we have a 3, a 4 and a 5, and it was a good job we stopped mana death on a 4 and a 5, otherwise we would have lost that mana and the Biont, quite possibly. So we organise the mana, and then we don't lose anything. We didn't roll any 6s, so that is fine, and that is the autocatalytic roll done as well for the clay mound. So not quite ready for the creation of life then, but we are certainly getting somewhere. It's not too bad. And again, no Darwin rolls and no purchasing, so straight into the next event. So these 200 million years are going fairly quickly. And the bolide water delivery a second time. Okay, well, if you're going to deliver water, you're going to deliver water. So we now have the ocean again as an active landform. So we will royal the ocean mutation deck. We have again several refugium being created from above. So we would come from the top down to the ocean as the active landform. And the ocean landform deck has now been depleted with the creation of the green rust fumarole. So we'll put out the disorganized mana for that. Okay. And there would be a second one, but since the only active landform stack has been depleted, there is no other active landform, even if you carry on going down the column, to put out Refugia from. So the second one will just get ignored, and we will not put out another card, which is fine. We have plenty of various Refugium to try and go against, so that's fine. Again, another extremophile event, and again we have no microorganisms or macroorganisms to worry about, so that's fine. And we are in a second cooling period of the game, so this is now going to create a string of 2 cooling periods together. So we really only have to start worrying about it if it gets to 3 or 4, 4 being Armageddon and the end of the game, basically. So we're fine at the moment. So we go into the assignment phase, and it is blue to assign first. So blue's limit of 1 bard is basically on the clay mound, and we could move it. It is in the active landform row, so we can move off it and go to maybe the hydrothermal vent or the green rust fumarole. But I'm happy where we are. We've got some ill effects on the autocatalytic roll blocked off by various enzymes. We do have 1 organised mana as a start, so I think we're quite happy staying there for the time being at least. So blue will stay there as its assignment, as will green, and again red and yellow will be ignored for the time being. So now we have 5 dice to roll, so 2 each for the bounce and 1 for the organised mana cube. And again, green is going to be the progenote. So, tad unfortunate there. We are going to get 1 mana organised as per the 1, and we can safely ignore the 4s and the 5s. But we are going to lose a mana and an enzyme on the 6. So we shall organise, may as well make it a yellow. And then the 6 will cause not only enzyme death, so we lose the rightmost enzyme back to the soup, but also mana death, and we will have to disorganise 1 of our mana back down to a disorganised mana section, and we'll make it a yellow. And then we get a yellow catalyst as compensation for this, which would then go to blue as the runner-up on the card, basically. So that is fine. We have rolled doubles, so we could now turn the clay mound and flip over and create a microorganism, but it wouldn't be a very strong microorganism. It would only have a couple of bounce and then 1 red chromosome cube. So I think we'll leave it at that, and we'll keep trying on the clay mound and see if we can't get a bit more organised matter up there and make it a bit stronger when we eventually create life. So again, we'll just go straight into the next event, and hopefully it'll be a warming period and then we get better odds on the dice for the autocatalytic roll. Nope, it is another cooling period, unfortunately. Right, okay. So the Heronian snowball is going to make the cosmic active and the continent active. So the ocean is now inactive. Unfortunately, then we couldn't move off it even if we wanted to. But never mind. So cosmic and continent need to roll the respective decks. And then we are going to create several continental refugia, I believe. So that is that. And then we have our very first eruptions from below icons. So these will start at the bottom of the landform column now and move their way upwards to find active landforms. So we have the first continent out, the hydrogen volcano, and then we do exactly the same thing with the second icon. So we have the warm pond as a current refugia, and they need their respective cubes. So hydrogen volcano and the lovely sounding warm pond. Okay, we have a not before seen event, the O2 spike or O2 attack. So this would be similar to the extremophile event, an attack on your various microorganisms. And again, as we have none, we are quite happily just sitting these out basically. We do, however, have our third cooling period in a row. So this is getting a tad worrisome. If we have another cooling period with the next event, that would be basically Armageddon and game over. So we very much want to see not another cooling period for the next event. Right, not much we can do about it if there is, really. So player order is going to be yellow, red, green and blue, and again yellow and red will skip themselves out, and we'll go straight to green and then blue, and they cannot move, or we cannot move our current bounce because they are in a locked down inactive landform row. And we have no others that we can assign because we are technically our limit of 1. So we could put a couple of catalysts though back onto the clay mound to act as enzymes. Green has no catalysts. Blue has a couple, so we may as well use one of them just to block off mana deaths on a 5. So basically again only 6s will cause us problems. You can put enzymes back into inactive refugium as long as you basically have a bout there in the first place, so that is fine. And again we're going to roll 5 dice, so we're going to an autocatalytic roll now. We finish with our assignments, and hopefully no 6s, hopefully 1s and 2s basically. Well, there are no 6s, so that's fine. We did get A2, so it was a good job we blocked off mana death on a 5 because those 5s would have caused us problems. So we get to organise one more mana. May as well make it the yellow, I think. And then we do have doubles, so we can actually now create a life form, if we so choose. I'm still tempted to keep going, to be honest. I really want to get these extra 2, or at least one of them anyway, disorganised mana up to the top, because blue organised mana, when you flip over the card, becomes basically error shielding, which is extremely useful for protecting your freshly made microorganism against any poor Darwin rolls. So it would be handy to have some more blue chromosomes when creating the bacteria. That being said, we could do it now. Decisions. I think we'll leave it one more turn. We're not in a particular hurry at the moment, so we'll leave it one more turn, and we'll see if we can't maybe get a few more catalysts out to block off mana death on a 6 at least, and then anything we roll will be fine, and we wouldn't lose any mana. So we'll give it one more turn and we'll see. So into the next round, basically. And please not a cooling period. Oh, good. A warming period. Excellent. Oh, it's an aftershock, though. Okay, fair enough. So the warming period now basically covers up the previous cooling periods. So we are not going to suffer Armageddon just yet. So that is fine. We can now cover those up. And because it is an aftershock event, this will bring out the next card from the deck to basically add more icons to the card. So late heavy bombardment is joined by hydrocarbon fog. So even though hydrocarbon fog is a cooling period, there was the warming period kind of mixed in there at the same time, so it will break up the string of icons and we won't suffer Armageddon, which is quite handy. Then we have the ocean and the continent as active landforms. So continent is active, the ocean is becoming active, and then the cosmic is going inactive. So we need to roll the various decks. And the continent deck. Okay. And then we have creation of refugia from above coming down. So we start at the top of the landform column, and the first one we come to is the ocean landform, but all of its relevant refugia are currently out. So we then carry on down the rows until we meet the next available area, which is the continent active landform. So we will take the first one from that on the top of the stack, and we have the geothermal zinc. So we'll get the relevant mana for that, which is going to be one of those ones. So that is there. And then we start applying various events. So we have an extremophile event. However, when you get extremophile events and O2 events on aftershocks, basically, they will all join up to create a higher level event. So this particular aftershock event will join up with these two here to make a level 3 extremophile event. And fortunately we have no bacteria out, so they will not be affected. I believe if we had created from the clay mound last time, we would be actually extincting that bacteria very quickly indeed, but we didn't, so that's fine. Then we have a UV radiation event, and this is, so if you have an organism with mutations, or if you have an organism with organs, the UV event basically stipulates the maximum amount of mutations or organs you can have on your organism, and if you are over that limit, you are forced to basically discard down to the limit. So we have a UV radiation of 2, but since we have nothing with mutations or organs, we're fine. And then we carry along and we have a UV radiation limit of 1. So again, nothing with mutations or organs, so we are fine. And then the warming period is covered up by the cooling period, so we are just in the hydrocarbon fog event now. And then yellow will assign first, but it will skip it, so blue, red will be skipped, and then green. So as blue, we could move off the clay mound. It is now an active landform, so we can move off it safely and go somewhere else. We are in a cooling period, so unfortunately everything else looks like it prefers warming periods to better organised mana. I think we're still going to stick on the clay mound, and actually we will, as part of Blue's assignment, put on the very last 2 catalysts it has to fully bring ourselves up to blocking off mana death on a 6 now. So 6s will still cause enzyme death, but they will no longer cause mana death. And then technically green would assign, but it is already there. It has no catalyst that it can use. So we're going to be rolling 6 dice now when we go to the autocatalytic roll, and we really should be getting another couple of 1s and 2s, and then we can get these blue mana up and hopefully get ourselves a very nice organism then. So 6 dice on the autocatalytic roll, and yeah, that is just about perfect, I believe. So good job we blocked off the 6 on mana death. 6 will still cause enzyme death, but as we are now... So green is the progenote. It has the most of its colour of enzymes in organised matter. So these 2 blue will go up as per the 2s. 4s and 5s don't cause us any problems. 6s will cause us an enzyme death, but that is of little consequence because we have rolled doubles, fortunately. So we can now basically create our very first microorganism. So any excess enzymes come off anyway, so ones we lose to enzyme death when you create a microorganism of little consequence because they're all going to come off anyway. And then we get to create our organism. So we'll bring that over there, we'll just move the green restroom all over. And because green was the progenote and making all the decisions, it will then come into green's area as its bacteria in this case. So the organised matter come off, as does the biots. Any disorganised matter that would have been left over would have just gone back to the soup as normal. And then you flip over the card and you have your very nice microorganism bacteria there. And then the biots go back on, as do the organised nanocubes, and these are now chromosomes that the bacteria will use in varying ways when it comes to the Darwin roll. So a couple of blues, quite a number of blues, which is going to be incredibly handy for shielding against errors. We have some entry chromosomes, which is very good for increasing our biont limit on refugia. We have metabolism chromosomes, which are good for generating catalysts on the Darwin roll. And we have specificity chromosomes, which are good for re-rolling dice you want to re-roll in the Darwin roll, which we are going to come to right now, because after the autocatalytic roll, and we are finished with all relevant rolls on the refugia, it is now the Darwin roll. And you roll for every single microorganism, parasite or otherwise, that is out. Not macroorganisms, they will get their own cancer rolls if that comes up. So every microorganism gets its Darwin roll, and again it's going to be in player order, but considering green is the only one with a relevant organism, it will just be green to roll. Excuse me. So similar to an autocatalytic roll, you have 2 dice per biont, and then you have 1 dice or 1 die each for the cubes. So a total of 8. Basically we want low numbers if possible, and very few 5s or 6s. Well, that's not too bad at all actually. We have a couple of 1s. So so we have done the relevant Darwin roll. We can see that we have several 1s which will create catalysts as per metabolism chromosomes. So very nice depiction on the cards. There is the number of red metabolism chromosomes you have. You will get that many, in this case, oh, I did the wrong catalyst, that many blue catalysts per 1 rolled. So we have 1 red chromosome, so we're going to get 1 blue catalyst per 1 rolled, so a total of 2, which is very handy. We have a number of errors, unfortunately, which we can effectively shield against. This is the benefit then of getting that many blue hereditary chromosomes. They will prevent errors from causing atrophy. We can re-roll 1, we do have 1 re-roll available, so we may as well use that, and we'll re-roll this 6 to become a 2, which unfortunately does not quite help in the creation of more catalysts. But the remaining 2 5s will be comfortably shielded against with our blue shield there, and won't cause us atrophy, which basically means we won't have to lose any of our chromosomes on the card. So that is fine. We do have a couple of catalysts out of it, and they will go into green's available area as green owns the organism. So green has done the only Darwin role necessary, and then we come to the purchase phase. So it would be blue to purchase first, technically, and blue can purchase for green's organism. Even though it is green's, blue is in there with one biont, so it can make a purchase, and then green would purchase with its own biont in its own organism. So blue will purchase first, and basically when you purchase from the mutation dex in the active rows, so ocean or continent, or the home row of the particular organism you're purchasing for. So it's still the ocean as the home row, so basically we're purchasing ocean or continent mutations. And seeing as how the only available mutation is the blue one here that we can really purchase, we may as well go for that. So when you make a purchase, this is blue's purchase, using green's resources, you have to spend a colour catalyst of the colour mutation that you're essentially purchasing. So ribo switches can be bought quite handily, like so, and then spinning the blue catalyst, and we'll place it to the right of the current organism, and it will be mutation there. So any abilities the mutation provides will not come into effect just yet. They will only be available from the next turn. So at the moment that's fine, we don't have any particular use for these right now, but as it is they won't come into effect next turn. And then that was blue's purchase, so green can make a purchase and it could spend its own catalyst there. We have another available mutation in the ocean landform that we can purchase for. So unfortunately the ribosome RNA is a red mutation, so we cannot purchase it with a blue catalyst, but we can purchase tmRNA, or using the blue catalyst we could actually promote this newly bought mutation, and that might not be a bad idea actually. So you can't use the benefits of mutations just yet, but you can certainly promote newly bought mutations. So yeah, I think why not? We may as well do that. So using again a blue catalyst to promote a blue mutation as a purchase, we will flip over ribo switches. Ooh, that's handy. So Chameleon is very nice in using any colour catalyst to make purchases, basically. And that does get us the red metabolism chromosome cube as well. So when you purchase a mutation, you can always see the colour of the catalyst, or colour of the chromosome it's going to give when you promote it. However, you do not get to look at the other side for the abilities. So the particular abilities on a unpromoted mutation may not always match up with the abilities on the promoted side. Some may come off, others may come on. On promoted mutations you will always find the DNA ability, but that is the only one that's guaranteed. Everything else is kind of up in the air as to whether it's going to remain or get switched to something else. So we did keep the Red Queen, however we did lose the HDT ability, but we replaced it with the Chameleon and the Sex ability. So all in all, not a bad trade-off, and we did get another red chromosome outfit as well. So yeah, quite happy with that promotion of a mutation. And that was the purchase phase done. So basically at one purchase per biont per organism, and then that is the purchase phase done. So now we go to the next event. We're going to carry on, and we are going to get the tropical water world. So okay, that's an interesting one. So basically the tropical water world kind of stands on its own. It does not have any abilities or events and attacks that would affect organisms. You do get, in this case, the ocean and the coastal becoming active. So ocean is active, and then the coastal is going to be active. Now the continent will become inactive. So it is greyed out, it will become an inactive landform, and because you place the tropical water world over the continent card, this will remain as an inactive landform until such time as an aftershock event occurs. So even if other events come out and they indicate the continent will become active, because the tropical water world is basically flooded everything, the continent is not available as an active landform until such time as an aftershock. And also, in the event of a string of warming phases, Armageddon will happen on 3 warming phases in a row rather than the usual 4. So it does not indicate a temperature change. We are still in a cooling period as per the previous hydrocarbon fog, but in the event that warming phases do start coming out and we get a string of them, Armageddon will happen on 3 of them rather than 4. So that is that, and then we have blue to assign, green to assign, and then yellow and red. So now that blue and green's bounce are on GNA Lipid World, they have fresh bounce that they can assign as per their default limit, and they are currently in a organism with 1 entropy chromosome as per the green bounce, so this will increase their max bounce on refugia by 1. So in an organism with a green entropy chromosome, and the number of green entropy chromosomes equals the limit that your max bounce can increase by. So both blue and green, because they are both in a relevant organism, will get an increase of 1 to their limit. So they can now put out 2 bounce on respective refugia. And we're in a cooling period, so we can go for the hydrothermal vent. There is nothing in the coastal, unfortunately, that is all gone. So basically it's the hydrothermal vent on the green rust fumarole. Well, the hydrothermal vent may not be a bad idea. Takes a while to get going, but at least we only suffer ill effects on a 6. Green rust fumarole might be nice for generating catalyst. You might get some catalyst from compensation out of that. Let's go for the green rust fumarole, and we'll see if we can't generate some catalysts via compensation with all of our bounce. So blue will assign both of its max level of bounce there, and then as will green. They have no catalyst to place out as enzymes, so that's fine. Then yellow will assign, and this is where it starts getting a bit worrisome, because yellow as a parasite now has an attractive bacterial host with fresh mutations that it can try and steal. So yep, it can definitely steal some of these cubes anyway. So we need to select a side for the yellow parasite, and this is basically a random roll of 1, 2, 3. It will be malaria, and then 4, 5, 6. Nope, it will stay as malaria. So staying as malaria, it will attach itself to our host there. So mutations on the right, bacteria on the left, and then it will try and steal, successfully in this case, relevant mutation cubes. So it can steal green and blue, but since the only one we have is a blue at the moment, it will happily take the blue mutation there, and it will become a disease cube that yellow will grab. And then red will try and assign. Now, can red supplant the yellow parasite? So it has the option of yellow or blue, yellow and blue, or it has the option of yellow and green. So not quite in this case, no. Okay. So technically red can grab a cube. It does have, on at least one of its sides, the available option of the blue cube, so it could take malaria's disease cube for itself. However, it cannot grab 2 cubes, And in order to supplant an existing parasite, the new parasite has to be able to come along and grab more cubes than the original parasite has. So in order to supplant malaria, it would need to be able to fill up both of its disease spaces with cubes. However, it cannot do that on any of its sides, so it will not be able to supplant malaria, so we will simply skip out the assignment phase. And also, parasites can assign themselves to the bacteria because it is currently in an active landform row. If the ocean was inactive, then the parasites could not come along to our new microorganism because it would be in an inactive landform row. But as it is in the ocean, which is currently active, they are free and clear to start knocking us about. And then we are done with assignments, so we need to do an autocatalytic roll for the green rust fumarole. So we need 8 dice, so we should be able to get something out of this anyway. And we need, so it's a cooling period, so 1s and 2s will organise mana. And we have not a lot of those. Okay, so we have A2, which will organise 1 mana. Green being the progenote, it is technically tied between enzymes and organised mana, as in there is neither for either of them. So coming down to the mana structure colour hierarchy, green is the first one along, so it will break the tie in its favour and be the progenote. So green will organise and disorganise the mana, and then blue will get the catalyst as compensation. So if we give blue a, well, may as well give it a yellow catalyst maybe. So we will organise 1 mana as per the 2, up to the top. And then we have a whole string of, in this case, disorganised mana, or mana death. So enzyme death as well, but there are no enzymes to die off. So basically we have sufficient, not the 3 fortunately, but yep, the 4, the 5, the 6s. These will all cause mana death. So the yellow mana will come back down and be a yellow catalyst as compensation, which will go to blue. And then there are no more organised mana to disorganise, so any further mana death will then start removing bounce. And it would be up to green as to which bounce are removed because it is the progenote, but there are sufficient mana death to basically take off all the bounce anyway, so it makes no difference. So both of them will come back for their respective players, but they will get relevant catalysts as compensation. So blue will get a couple of catalysts, and green will get a couple of catalysts. So that's not too bad, at least it can make some purchases with that, hopefully. And then we are done with the autocatalytic roll, so now we need to do a Darwin roll. So gain 2 dice per buyout, and then 5 dice in total for the relevant cubes. So, okay, there's some 1s anyway, so that's a healthy number of catalysts we're going to get. A couple of errors, 3 errors which we can effectively shield against, but we could also try re-rolling. And then 2s, 3s and 4s which are not going to affect us at all. So we have sufficient errors that we can shield, but we do have a re-roll, so may as well re-roll. And it is another 1. So re-rolls it on first, and then you claim all the dice and the effects afterwards. So we do have some errors, but we are adequately shielded. We do have 3 1s, and each one is now going to give us 2 blue catalysts as per the 2 red metabolism chromosomes. So we need 6 in total, which is very handy. That is a lot of purchasing power. And that will actually bring us up on green's area to the limit of its catalysts, for blue anyway. So in a 2-player game, and this is technically solo, but there are 2 main colours, each colour is allowed 6 catalysts of a particular colour in its area. So we have 6 blues, and that is all the blues we are allowed. We did get a triple, which would allow us an extra blue catalyst as per the Darwin roll, but we are at the limit, so this will just get lost back to the soup. And now, so green has done its Darwin roll, and now yellow next in turn order will do its Darwin roll. Parasites will always roll immediately after their host, so even if yellow is not next in turn order, because the host has done a Darwin roll, then the parasite will do one. So very similar to the one we just did, we get 2 per biont, 1 per cube. And that's a worrying number of errors, at least for yellow anyway. So it does have a yellow specificity chromosome as the yellow biont, so it can reroll one of the errors. Okay, that's not too bad. So it did manage to turn it into something that won't affect it. And then the other error will be happily shielded with its hereditary chromosome that it has. And it did roll a 1, which would be normally a catalyst generation, but because there are no red metabolism chromosomes on the yellow parasite, it will not generate a chromosome for us, which is unfortunate, but never mind. And then we are done with the Darwin roll for malaria. So now we need to do purchasing. So turn order is green first, blue first, sorry, so blue will make a purchase, then green will make a purchase, and then yellow, again as a parasite, will make a purchase immediately after the host has done its full suite of purchases with all the relevant bionts. So blue first, and we have blue catalyst to purchase with and green catalyst to purchase with. Well, the blue might not be so bad. We could do a red queen purchase, actually. So we have the red queen ability on our Hox genes, and this is now come into play because it is a fresh turn in which we can now use abilities on mutations. And basically a red queen purchase is stealing away from a parasite if you are the host, or the host if you are a parasite. Either way, you can take off a respective cube from the other side and bring it back over to your side. So we could use a blue catalyst to buy back the blue cube back onto our mutation, which would be quite handy actually. In fact, that's not a bad idea at all, because if we use the blue catalyst as a red queen purchase to purchase back this blue chromosome there back onto our mutation card, then it is going to be green's turn to purchase, and green can also make a red queen purchase. They both are in the same organism with the red queen ability, so it can also make a purchase, and it can purchase the yellow biont, because the malaria parasite has had all its disease cubes purchased, so the next step is then purchasing the bionts, and we can purchase this yellow biont, so we may as well do so. Would save us from being worried about yellow parasites in future. Wouldn't stop red, but there we go. 50% of all parasites gone is not too bad, to be honest. And we can use, again, another blue catalyst. It does not match the yellow biont, but as we have the chameleon ability, this will allow us to basically use any kind of catalyst for any purchase we want. It doesn't have to be the same colour as what we are purchasing. So green will make the red queen purchase again, and it will purchase yellow's biont. And this will put malaria out of the game for the time being. If we are unlucky enough to eventually lose the yellow biont from our organism, it will go back to yellow's area and the parasite will become active again. But for the time being, we have a yellow biont around. And as per the living rules, I believe, so there are a set of living rules up on the website, and I will provide a link to it. When you make a enemy AI biont part of your organism, it will then become an ally for you that will essentially make purchases for you with your direction. So technically now yellow's turn to purchase, and because yellow has been integrated into our overall host, we can use yellow to make a purchase for us. So we have some blue and green catalysts, and we can purchase from the ocean or the coastal landform row. So Calvin cycle or tRNA? Well, the Calvin cycle might not be a bad idea. Actually, it does give us an O2 shield, so sure, we'll go for that, I think. So yellow's purchased now on our behalf. We'll be purchasing the Calvin cycle. We could use a green catalyst to make the purchase, but we have a fair number of blues and we have the chameleon ability available, so we may as well use a blue one to even things out a bit. And we will purchase the Calvin cycle as a fresh mutation. And that will give us a green cube. So we're looking quite healthy on cubes actually. We might start looking towards becoming a marine life form already, which is remarkably quickly, I believe. So when you try and purchase your way into marine life, you are trying to match up available cubes, not biomes, just the cubes, onto the system chromosomes on the bottom left of the card. So for example, arrow worms requires a red, 2 red cubes, 1 yellow, 2 greens and a blue. So we have the 2 red available in main chromosomes and mutation chromosomes. We have the yellow available there, we have the 2 green, nope, we only have 1 green, okay, so a bit short, and we have more than enough blue. So we could go for arrow worms actually, very soon. We are short a yellow for sea stars, we are short several yellow for trilobites, and lamp shells, so something with a bit less yellow maybe. So flatworms is quite nice. Or maybe the Dickinsonia, although that would require another green. Okay, so maybe another green mutation, or cube, or we could just go straight into flatworms maybe, which would give us a blue excess cube and well, that would be it, a couple of blue excess cubes, one of which would go on to the organs. Or we could try and get maybe another red cube. Nope, we have sufficient red to buy all organisms. So maybe another green then. Okay, so something to think about for next turn is buying suitable mutation cubes then that will allow us to evolve into a very nice marine life form. We'll have a look at that next round. So we are done with the purchase phase. Red's not going to make a purchase, that's fine. So we'll go into the next event, which is going to be the Valbara breakup. So continuing the cooling period. So we are now 2 cooling period icons towards Armageddon. The cosmic and the coastal landforms are active. So cosmic and coastal, and we need to roll the respective decks. Right, so we need to find suitable mutations then that we can buy to become a marine life form. Well, some of these look promising, at least in the colours anyway. And we have various refugia creations, so from the bottom up would be coastal first as an active landform, so that will bring out the pumice raft. And it needs a red, a green and 2 yellows. Okay. And then from the top down will be the last one in the cosmic landform row. So that will be, move the dice out of the way. That will be the Mars Paleocean for a blue, a green, a yellow and a red. Okay. Then we have UV radiation, which will limit us to, in this case, 4 mutations. Well, we are definitely below the limit of 4 mutations, so we don't have to worry about that. And then cooling period, so carry on the string of cooling icons, that's fine. So assignment phase is yellow first, then blue, then red. And red is probably going to be a pain and be an attached parasite, I suspect. So we'll have to see. So green first anyway. And we have 3 biomes we can now assign to refugia. So the default of 1, and then we have 2 green chromosomes, which will increase our limit by 1 apiece. So 3 onto refugia now, as is blue as well. Okay, so green can assign, we're in a cooling period, so we want areas in the cosmic or areas in the coastal that we can assign to. That are good. Well, the interplanetary dust is nice in a cooling period, so it will organize matter in a 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a bit unstable, it will quite happily cause mana death as well. Pumice Raft is not too bad actually. It's not very good at organising mana, but you can quite easily block off the ill effects of the autocatalytic roll. Actually, that might not be a bad place to go. If we, let's see, what have we got? So those are the catalysts. So if we go for green, and we will assign a green buoyant onto the pumice raft, and we will take along a blue enzyme as well, a catalyst which will become an enzyme to go there, and then we do blue, and we'll give 2 blue buoyants onto the pumice raft, like so, and blue will put on 2 catalysts there as enzymes. So all spaces have been blocked, so we're not going to suffer any effects on the autocatalytic roll. However, we are going to be slow to organize matter, but that's fine. And then we have some balance left over, but I think we can just leave those for the time being. We could place them out as part of assignment. We might get some... Well, okay, so as part of green's assignment, if we took, say, the other 2 balance and we went up to interplanetary dust, and we did the same with blue's balance as well, then at the very least that will hopefully give us some catalyst due to mana death there as compensation. And then the next one is going to be red in the assignment order, and red will very happily come along and steal cubes, I suspect. So 1, 2, or 3, it will be the brown side. Nope, 4, 5, and 6 is going to be the Protein X side. And it will attach itself as Protein X, and it will take our blue mutation cube from the Hox genes over there. So there is no yellow cube for it to steal, but it will steal the blue one quite handily. Okay, that's fair enough. Not much we can do about it. We could always red queen it away and actually maybe get ourselves a red balance as well. That would be very handy. Anyway, we are done with assignment, so we now need to do the autocatalytic roll. So we'll start from the top down, left to right along the row. So the first one is going to be the interplanetary dust, with a total of 6 dice for the 3 balance. We are organising mana on a 1, 2, 3, or 4, so we have 3 organisation of mana there. 3s will also cause mana death, and then 5s will cause enzyme death and mana death. So actually, we are going to get 3 mana up, which will be all of the mana. To start with, green is going to be the progenote, so again a tie between enzymes and organised mana. So on the colour structure, the green is the first, so green will be the progenote, and therefore blue will get the compensation. So 3 mana up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 mana back down. So the 2 yellows and the green will be 2 yellows and a green catalyst in compensation to blue. Not too bad. And then we'll take back down a green buoyant as the 4th one, which will go back to green with a green enzyme, a green catalyst as compensation. So not a bad organisation of catalysts, which was kind of what we were going for. That will give us some purchasing power anyway. And then the more important one is the pumice raft, which is where we're going to try and create some life form. So all poor effects on the roll have been blocked off by enzymes. We are rolling 6 dice, and we basically just want a bunch of 1s, really. And blue is definitely the progenote because it has the most enzymes and organized matter. So, not a single one. Well, that is unfortunate. So no mana created or no mana organized. Nothing disorganized. We blocked off all ill effects, but that's a tad disappointing. Well, not much you can do about it. So that is that. Then we come along to a Darwin roll. So yellow would be green would be first with its GNA lipid world. So we'll make a relevant Darwin roll. Let's see. So 6 for the bounce, 4, 12 in total. So 6 for the bounce, 12, another 6 for the cubes. And fortunately, we do have the DNA ability as per our mutation. So only 6s will cause us errors now. I'm sure we'll still see a fair amount of those. Oh, just 1 6. Okay, not too bad. So we have a number of 1s. Any triples? Oh, there's a triple there. And another one. Right, okay. So these will all generate now 2 catalysts apiece. So basically another 6 red. Nope, it's blue. I keep getting the colour confused. Another 6 blue catalysts, which very well may run out our actual pool. Okay, and then it would be 2 more for the triples, but I have actually run out of relevant catalysts, so it's just the 1, and we'll work it this way. So we do get and this error can be ignored because we have sufficient error shielding. So we do get the 4 catalysts there to bring our overall pool back up to 6. Now we would have 4 excess catalysts that would be generated. There should be a 4th one there, but I've run out of available catalysts. So in the case of an overabundance of catalysts over your limit, and I believe this again is just in the living rules, any pair of catalysts that you are over your limit by, you can actually trade in for another catalyst of your color, another catalyst of your color choice to add to your pool. So we would have an extra 2, but they would be lost, so we can actually trade those in, and we'll grab a red maybe. And then we would have a further 2 there, but again we'll be able to trade those in for another red and add them to our pool instead. So it is only pairs of 2. If you are just over by 1 catalyst, for example, that would just be lost as a rounding down error. So we do have quite a number there. And then red will come immediately after in the Darwin roll. So, oops, all over the place. Right, so it's going to have an error. It does not get a reroll, but it can shield against the error with its blue hereditary chromosome. No triples, no 1s, so no catalyst generation, but that is fine for the red parasite. And now we move into purchasing, and we have a whole host of catalysts to purchase with, and we need to start working out what we're going to try and evolve into with our organism. So again, looking at the available options, we have some blue, some red, and then basically one of the other 2. So blue and red. So sea stars, maybe if we can get another yellow. And that would be too many yellows for the trilobites, so not that. Lamp shells is a bit too unambitious probably. We could do Opobonia. We do have not enough green, so probably not. Not enough green for seaweed, and probably not flatworms. So actually sea stars might be the best option to go for. It would require an extra yellow. So can we make a relevant yellow purchase? Let's see. So we do have... well, in the mutation decks, we have no immediate... sorry, excuse me a second. We have no immediate yellow mutations out. However, we can see that this green one at the top here will provide a yellow mutation upon promotion, as will the red one down here will provide a yellow mutation upon promotion. We cannot buy this one. Well, technically we can do. We do have the spore ability, which essentially allows us to purchase from any row, inactive or otherwise. So we could very well purchase the ribosome RNA, but I like the idea of having some more green chromosomes available. So as greens purchase, it will purchase this mutation with, may as well use a blue catalyst. So again, we have the chameleon ability, which allows us to use any color catalyst for purchase. So we will do that. And we will do that. And then we can use, so we'll put that at the end of the various mutation area. So then we can use blue's purchase. Is blue next in purchase order? It is indeed. So we can use blue's purchase to promote this mutation. And again, we'll use a blue catalyst as any color to promote it. So we will do this. So another DNA error, but we can't double those up, so that's fine. We do get an O2 shield out of it, that's quite handy. And then we could use, so yellow has a purchase as well. And if we're going for C stars, then we now have sufficient cubes available to mutate into C stars. But we would like some left over to provide as organs. So maybe another red would be a useful organ. Certainly we have a couple of greens. So actually, yes, if we promote our Calvin cycle as an available mutation, using again another blue, well, we'll use a green this time. We'll go for the correct color for the Calvin cycle. So yellow will do a purchase on our behalf and purchase the promoted Calvin cycle. So flip it over, and that will give us a red cube that we can then use as an extra organ when we eventually get to C stars. Hopefully. I hope I'm not getting too ahead of myself and events will determine otherwise, but we'll see. So now we have effectively done all successful purchasing for the balance on our organism. So then red will come immediately afterwards as a parasite and make a purchase. So it has no spore ability, so only you can make use of your own mutation abilities. The parasite does not get access to them. So it is limited to basically the cosmic landform row to purchase from and the coastal landform row to purchase from. And it also has no chameleon ability, so it cannot switch out catalyst colors for use in purchasing. But we do have red and blue, so it can effectively purchase both the red mutation and the blue mutation if it so desires. So it's basically an equal opportunity, so we'll roll a dice for red. So 4, 5, 6 will be RNA ribosome as its purchase. So we need a bit more space. And then red will get its first mutation as a parasite mutation. So parasites can indeed have their own mutations, and this will give it various abilities as exactly the same as us. It now gets an entropy shield in this case, and another blue chromosome to defend against errors, and it will quite happily do that. So that was then red's purchase, so we are now all done with the purchasing, so we go back to the next event. And I am going to put a break in here, and I will see you in a bit. Okay, so we are back with our next event, which is going to be the clathrate gun. Right, so we have a number of refugia becoming active. The coastal is going to remain active, the ocean is going to become active, and the cosmic will become inactive. So we need the ocean mutation deck roiled and the coastal mutation deck roiled. Oops, there we go. And then the continent should become active as indicated by the event. However, because the tropical water world is still there, it will remain inactive for the moment. Then we have a smite event, and this is possibly the first smite event we've seen in the game, or at least the first one that's actually going to take into a refugia into account. Yep, it could quite possibly be this first smite event we've seen. So, in the event of a smite, we have a number of refugia that can be affected. The interplanetary dust, the hydrothermal vent, and the deep hot biosphere are currently immune because they have the green smite shield. However, every other refugia will be affected. There are no immune ones this time, so we are going to be able to, in the event of enzymes on a refugia, you will lose your rightmost enzyme. In the event of cubes, you will lose the first cube in the mana structure row. So it's a single smite event, so each refugia will be affected once. So basically, in the case of the Mars Paleo Ocean, it will lose its blue mana cube as indicated by the mana structure. So a blue one there, a green one for the green resfumarole. Hydrothermal vent is unaffected. The pumice raft will lose its rightmost enzyme. The geothermal zinc will lose its red. The warm pond will lose its blue, and the hydrogen volcano will lose its green. So quite a large stripping of mana there, as well as unfortunately one of the catalysts we had on the pumice raft, but we can always put that back on again, that's not a problem. And then we have creation of refugia. So from the bottom, so it would be the continent, but it is currently inactive as per Tropical Water World again. So it is going to be the coastal, and we are going to get the radioactive beach. Doesn't sound very good. And 2 green and 2 yellow. And then we have another O2 event, and then finally a warming that will cover up the previous cooling. So the O2 event will now affect our organisms. So we have plenty of entropy chromosomes and green shields on our various mutations and chromosome cubes to protect against a level 1 O2 attack. The Protein X parasite, however, does not have any green chromosomes, and it does not have any O2 shield on its mutations. It has an extremophile shield, but that will not help against O2 attacks. So it is indeed going to lose a cube due to atrophy. So it will lose mutation cubes first, and then if mutation cubes are gone, it would lose disease cubes, and then if disease cubes are gone, it would lose bounce. But it does have a mutation cube it can lose, so it will lose that one first, and that will go back to the home row of the overall organism, which is going to be the ocean, and the cube will just go back to the soup. So we have that back in the ocean landform. A mutation deck there, and then we carry on with the rest of our turn as normal, so red to go first, then blue, and then green. So red is the protein, it is currently assigned, so it cannot basically reassign itself, it will stay there. Blue will go next, and we are currently assigned on the pumice raft and the interplanetary dust. I see no reason to move ourselves. It's a warming period, so the pumice raft is actually slightly better in a warming period, so that's quite handy. The interplanetary dust is currently inactive, so actually we cannot move off there if we wanted to anyway. So we will stay on the pumice raft as blue, and we will actually assign another catalyst just to replace the one enzyme that was lost due to the smite event. And then it will be green, and again green is quite happy, I believe, where it is, so that will be fine. And then yellow, and yellow is now in our organism as an ally, so it will do nothing as well. So very quick assignment there. And then we come to the autocatalytic roll. So we need one roll for the interplanetary dust. So mana will definitely organise on 2s, that's very handy. We will get mana death and enzyme death on a 6, however. So the 3 mana, will go up. And then we will lose a mana on a 6. So, and this will go to blue as compensation since green is the progenote. So we will bring back down. We'll bring back down a green mana there to give a green catalyst to blue as compensation. We could turn over the interplanetary We could turn over the interplanetary dust as an organism. We have rolled doubles. We could quite well do so. However, I believe that we want to probably leave it for the time being for mana organisation and deorganisation to get catalysts out of it. This would give green another organism because green is a progenote, so it would go to green as the organism. However, green is tied up at the moment trying to sort out GNA lipid world, so maybe in future we might turn it to an organism once we get this evolved and we have less to do with it. But for the time being, I think we're fine at the moment. Then we come to the pumice raft as a roll. So we are organising mana on a 1 and a 2. Again, that's quite a nice roll, but we are going to disorganise mana and... Oh, no we're not, because we covered up all the enzymes. All the spots with enzymes. So actually that is an exceptional roll. So that will quite handily organise all the mana on the pumice raft as per the 4 2s. And there is no mana death and there's no enzyme death. And yeah, that is very handy. And we did roll doubles, so actually with the pumice raft we will indeed create a bacteria out of it, because this will go to blue as a progenote, and then blue can start working on its first microorganism. So yep, quite a good autocatalytic phase there. So we just slide over radioactive beach, and blue will get a very nice organism out of this, I believe. It's going to be handily shielded against errors with its 2 blue bounce there as chromosomes, and it's going to have a number of specificity rerolls in case of a poor Darwin roll. Yep, that's looking very good there. So we are into Darwin rolls now, and it is going to be blue to go first. So technically red as per the turn order, but blue will go first, then green, and then red will follow on as from the host. So blue needs to roll 6 dice, 10 dice. So quite a number of dice. Fortunately we do have some rerolls if needed. And we do have some error shields if needed, and we may very well... Nope, those were 6s. We're just about okay, I believe. So we're going to get some catalysts. That is a triple. So we do have 2 rerolls. We may as well reroll these 2 6s in case we can get something better. One is another 4 and one is a 2, so unfortunately nothing catalyst-wise out of those, but that's okay. So these 2 ones will get 2 yellow catalysts, and then this triple will also get a yellow catalyst, and those will go to blue and bring its total yellow up to 5, so not quite the limit yet, but fairly close. And then green needs to roll, and green is rolling quite a lot, so 6 for the bounce, 4, and we need another 5 for the various mutation cubes, so I do have some spares. So we'll bring, and we do need, that should be about enough dice I believe. So again 6 for the bounce, 4 for the cubes on the main organism, and 5, yeah, for the cubes on the mutations. So let's try this. We should have bought a dice tray. So that, and then that, and then these 3. Okay, so that's what we end up with then. We will definitely have to turn Green's organism into a macroorganism soon, so we don't have to roll quite so many dice. So we have quite a number of 2s and triples, that's not too bad. We have 5s, but only 6s will actually cause us errors because we have several DNA shields. So no errors to take care of, that's perfect. There's a 1 for the catalyst, and right. So I believe we are actually going to max out our blue catalysts quite handily with all that rolling, really. So the 1 on its own is going to get 3 blue catalysts, like so. The various triples will get another 4 blue catalysts, like so. Right, so 2 catalysts will bring our blue ones up to the limit of 6, and then we have a further 5 that we could add to our pool. Well, as per before, if we take them in pairs, so one of them will get lost, and we will grab a couple of yellows in the place of the pairs that we would normally lose due to catalyst limit. So that seems about right. And then all these dice can go back, like so. And then red needs to roll for its Darwin roll. And it has an error, but it is shielded, so the error will not matter. So that is fine. Right, into the purchase phase then. So red is technically a game first, but it will purchase after all biounts on the host have purchased. So blue going first may as well purchase for its main organism at the top there. So it's quite a strong organism already. We have a number of cubes on it. We could quite possibly use some more blue and green, I suspect. Definitely some more green, I believe. So it does not have the chameleon ability, so unfortunately it cannot use any colour catalyst. But we do have some yellows, we do have some greens. So looking at the landforms, we can purchase from the coastal, we can purchase from the ocean. And the organism itself resides in the coastal home row, so basically just these 2. mRNA we could definitely purchase because it will give us a blue chromosome now, but also a green one upon promotion. So we'll go for that. We have to give up 2 catalysts to basically exchange for one of a similar colour, in this case a blue, and we will get ourselves mRNA there. And then we could do a second purchase, so we do have another blue biont to purchase with, and we have uncovered a mutation that we can actually purchase with the correct colour, so we may as well do that with 1 yellow catalyst. And we'll purchase the reverse citric acid cycle. And this will give us the fission ability, which is quite handy for doing double purchases. Basically any organism that has the fission ability, when you make a purchase for it, you can do a double purchase. Normally you are restricted to just 1 purchase per biont. So that will be handy next turn. So that will end blue's purchases for the main, for its main organism, and then it will purchase down here with greens. Right, so if we are looking to do C stars, then we have the relevant blue cubes, we have the relevant yellow cubes now, green and red. We could use a few more green to round out the organs, as could we use a yellow. We have plenty of red, I believe, at the moment anyway, so that is sufficient. So can we grab ourselves, with blue's purchase, maybe another green? mutation. So there is chloroplast symbiont in the active row, so we can grab that. So we may as well use blue purchase to grab this mutation. Would cause an O2 spike, but again, oh well, red is there as well actually. So we'll make the purchase with a blue catalyst as per chameleon ability, and then that will go there to add to its ever increasing number of mutations. We'll just place it down there for the time being because it's going to come off very soon anyway. And it will cause an O2 spike, which will actually completely destroy red. The red protein, parasite, sorry, is in the ocean row, basically. It is not it's not a complete part of the host, so it does suffer an O2 attack, as per the O2 spike. And the O2 spike is a strength 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 entropy chromosomes, an O2 spike of 4. This rather small parasite has no green entropy chromosomes to protect itself. It has no O2 shields, so it's going to basically suffer an atrophy of 4. One of which will take off the mutation cube, disease cube, and the second one will take off the biont. So that was possibly a misplay. If we had left blue's purchase alone and simply waited for green to go straight into C stars, we would have taken over red as an NDO symbiont. So unfortunately it is going to come back as a parasite later. Well, never mind, it's done now. So the blue cube will go back. It will not go back to our mutation. It will unfortunately be lost. The red biont will go back to red's area along with its parasite to plague us further. And that was blue's purchase. So it's fine, at least red doesn't get a chance to purchase anyway, so that's okay, I suppose. Next is going to be green. So green may as well purchase for blue's organism first. There is no preferential order, it's just basically whichever one you would like. So I think green will actually promote blue's newly purchased yellow mutation to give itself one of those green cubes. So that will go there. And then as green's main bacteria purchase, we will definitely go into C stars. So you have to give up a catalyst. There is no free purchase for marine life forms, only for terrestrial if you manage to fill out all the organs. And then you would discard all your mutations, but you would keep the relevant cubes. And then all mutations go back to the home row of the organism, so they're going to go back to the ocean. So let's just tidy these up quickly. So unfortunately we do lose our nice mutation abilities, but we will get some back on the sea star organism itself. So these need to go to the bottom of the ocean landform mutation deck, like that. And then all chromosomes on the main body come off as well, as do the bionts. So C stars will now come onto GNA lipid world on the actual bacterial card itself, and then we have to pay for it with the relevant cubes. So we need to give up 2 red, we need to give up 2 yellow, a green, and a couple of blues. These will remain technically on the card as system chromosomes, but we just have to spend the actual cubes themselves first. So these are now discarded, and it had to be healthy mutation cubes or cubes on the main card. You couldn't have disease cubes on parasites as part of that as well. It has to be basically the right hand side or the main card itself as the cubes. And then any excess we have left over can go onto the actual card as organs in the organ section. There are several abilities we can try and cover up and gain hold of, so the red queen ability there, We didn't have a yellow, unfortunately, for the O2 shield, but we do get the 2 greens there and the red. And then any biots on the main card that you've managed to collect, basically, will come on as endosymbionts, plus parasite biots, if they're attached, will also then come in as endosymbionts as well. Any hyperparasites, and in the solo game you do not have hyperparasites, but any hyperparasites will then actually just become attached to the marine life form as general parasites. And then the owner's biont will become the trophic level biont there in the bottom right. So foreign gene bionts and parasites will become endosymbionts. If you have multiple host bionts, so if you had 2 green bionts on the card, then one would become the trophic level biont and one would become an endosymbiont biont. And if you have more than that and they can't fit on, they simply go back to their owners with compensation. So the trophic level biont basically indicates its place in the food chain. So at the start, we are the plant level. We are the only marine life form. So we are at the plant level. If there were more marine life forms, and the same goes for terrestrial, then there would be a bit of a competition to see what the order is between them. They may become herbivores or carnivores, depending on how many there are. But at the moment, we are just the plant level, which is fine. And because we have created the first marine life form, we then, excuse me a second, because we have created the first marine life form, we get to advance the game. Excuse me. We get to advance the game into the Age of Oxygen, which basically means that we take off any Archean era cards that are left over, and it's just the one, but that's fine, and we go straight to the Proterozoic section of the event deck, and then we start getting those events out, which may cause us problems, we'll have to see. But that was quite a successful evolution there. And then we still have yellow to purchase. Yellow is still an endiosymbiont. Excuse me, bit of a cough. Yellow is still an endiosymbiont on our card, so it can still make a purchase for us. And we have a number of catalysts. So we do not have the chameleon ability anymore. That was a mutation ability that was lost, so we now have to spend correct colour catalysts. But we do have quite a number of each, so that's fine. And purchasing for macroorganisms is basically just purchasing the organs. So in the case of yellow, it will spend a yellow catalyst to buy a yellow organ. Because we do want to cover up the heart and blood section and get ourselves that nice O2 shield ability there. So that will be spent, and then that was yellow's purchase, and red will skip out its purchase because it is no longer on any organism. So that's not too bad. And then we would skip ahead to the next event, but I'm just going to have a quick check through the marine organism list to see if blue's organism cannot start trying to work its way towards something a bit more productive as well. So we have a number of yellow cubes. Seaweed's a bit unambitious, I suspect. We could probably do better than that. Lamp shells, maybe. We do have everything we need for lamp shells. So we have the red, we have the 2 yellows, we have the green and the blue. Maybe a bit more, maybe trilobites. We do have everything apart from another red. So actually, trilobites might be very handy indeed. Or no, I think I like the look of trilobites really. So if we can, with blue's organism, work towards grabbing ourselves another red mutation cube, then we could very well go for trilobites. I suspect the parasite will come in at some point and steal stuff away, but we have a number of red queen abilities on our mutations, so we could very well try and red queen purchase the parasitical disease cubes back again. We shall have to see. So we are into the first Proterozoic era card, as per the Age of Oxygen acceleration. It is going to be the Pangea breakup. So still not an aftershock, so the continent is still not active. So ocean is active, coastal is not. So I need to roll the rather large ocean mutation deck now. And then we have a number of refugee creation. So actually we have no refugee creation. It's very simple. So from the bottom up, the first active landform is the ocean, but it has all its refugia out. And again, from the top down, it is the ocean which has all its landforms out, refugia out. So no creation there. We have a UV event, which will bring us down to a limit of 4 mutations or 4 organs on our various organisms. So blue is at 2 mutations, so it is currently fine. We are at 4 organs on our sea stars, so we are just about at the limit as well. So it's a good job we didn't have a UV radiation event of 2 maybe, because then we would have to lose several of our new organs. And then we have a cooling period, which will break up the string of warming periods. So that is fine. Blue to assign first, then red, then green, and then yellow. So blue is currently on the interplanetary dust and the interplanetary dust only. All of its biomes are now basically either on organisms or on refugia. So it has no spare biomes, so you basically have a limit of 4 in a 2-player game to put out. So it has 1 bound on interplanetary dust, and we cannot move it because it is an inactive cosmic landform, so it will have to stay there. Red can assign itself as a pain. So red can take blue's mutation cubes, or it could take our organ cubes. So either way, it's kind of grabbed 2 cubes, and that's a pain. Okay, so protein X on a 1, 2, 3, the prion on 4, 5, 6, it is the prion. So it will now try and grab the most yellow and green cubes that it can do. So there is a equal opportunity between blue's organism and green's organism. They both have 2 cubes of the colour. So we need to basically make another die roll to determine whether it's going to go to blue or green. So it is a 1, so it will go up the top here and attach itself to blue. And then it will grab the 2 cubes we just got from our mutation. That's annoying. Well, we'll have to red queen them back, I suspect. So the mutation doesn't go away, even though all its cubes are technically diseased. It is there until basically red loses the cubes for us, unfortunately. So we'll definitely have to try and red queen those back, I suspect. Right, so that was red's assignment, and then green can assign again all its balance either on organisms or the interplanetary dust, which it cannot move off. So we will leave them there. Green could put out catalysts as enzymes for the interplanetary dust. However, honestly, I'm not that fussed about making much use of the interplanetary dust. If we get some catalyst from compensation from it, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to work on sea stars for the moment and try and make this the best organism we can. So we shall go into the autocatalytic roll. We are going to roll in 6 dice with green as the progenote. So mana will organise on a 1, 2, 3 or 4 as per the cooling period. So actually we are going to get, that was a 4. We are going to get all the mana organised, the 1 remaining that we can do, so that will go up. However, we are going to get mana death on 4s and mana death on 6s. So we are going to lose basically everything. So that's one way of getting the balance back anyway. So, no, not quite. We're only going to lose 4 of them. Okay, so the 3 4s and the 6 will all cause mana death. The 4s and the 6s will also cause enzyme death, but there are no enzymes. So green as a progenote will disorganise those 3, and then can opt to disorganize or manifest itself as well, basically. So I think that's what we'll do, leaving blue there by itself. So blue will get, even though green basically took itself off, blue was still the runner-up at the beginning of the roll, so it will remain throughout. So it will take those catalysts as compensation. However, green will get the buyout back with a further catalyst. Oh, I did realise that green had another buyout hiding away. I completely missed that. Okay, I'll have to take that into account next turn. So that was the autocatalytic roll. Now we do the Darwin roll, and it is blue to go first, and then red directly afterwards, and then green. So blue is rolling 6 dice. Yep, 1, 2, 3 buyouts, and then 3 cubes and a further cube. So at least red did some good in saving us a couple extra dice in the Darwin roll by taking those mutation cubes off us. So that's a 1 for catalysts, that's a 6 and a couple of 5s for errors. We do still have the DNA ability. We don't have any mutation cubes, but we do still have the inbuilt ability of the card, so that's not a problem. So only 6s are going to cause us problems, basically. We have 2 rerolls, so we may as well re-roll 2 of these, and that comes out as an extra 1, so that's pretty good. And then we have some triples, excellent. So these ones will get us 2 yellow catalysts, and then these triples will also get us a further 2 catalysts. We are at a limit of 3 at the moment, so we will get 3 extra catalysts to bring us up to the limit of yellow in blue's area. However, this further 1 catalyst is not a pair, so it will basically get wasted, unfortunately. But that's still a healthy number of catalysts there we can use. And then red would make a Darwin roll, so okay, so it will actually produce a catalyst, several in fact. That is very handy, thank you red. So due to the metabolism chromosome, the red buyout, it will produce 1 catalyst in the parasite colour due to the 1, and it also follows the rule for triples as well, so it will produce a 2nd catalyst in the parasite colour for the triples. So a couple of red catalysts, so not quite such a pain after all. Okay, and then green would normally make a Darwin roll if it had a microorganism. However, macroorganisms do not make Darwin rolls. They only do cancer rolls when they come up as events on cards. So green is happy that it does not have to worry about Darwin rolls anymore for the time being. So that is fine. And then we come to the purchase phase. So blue will purchase first, and then green, and then red after the host. So, well, I think blue may very well use its red queen ability to purchase back the disease cubes. So we're going to try for trilobites as the marine organism. So in order to do that, we need basically another red cube. So blue's first purchase will be to red queen the yellow cube back from the parasite with a yellow catalyst back onto its mutation card. Its second purchase will be to red queen the green cube back. The parasite cannot defend against these. It does not have any red queen icons of its own to basically stop the attack, so it is entirely susceptible to that. And then that was blue's purchasing done there, so blue can also purchase for the sea stars. And we actually have several organ slots we want to fill out, so it will make a green organ purchase down there, and it will give us an anus as an organ. Fair enough. Okay. And then that was blue's purchasing done in its entirety, so now it falls to green to purchase. So green may as well purchase up here to begin with. And we need to get ourselves another red cube from a mutation. We could purchase the parasite Bant as a red queen purchase, but that wouldn't give us the red cube, and I'd rather we spent our purchasing power on that instead. The red Bant will come along as an Endio symbiont when we get into trilobites anyway, so we'll see if we can get a red mutation cube. So looking at the rows, we have just the ocean landform available. The host resides in the coastal, but there are no more coastal mutations in the deck. So we can only buy, unfortunately, from the ocean landform row. Oh, no, I tell a lie. We do have the spore ability, which allows us to not only assign to any row we choose when it comes to the assignment phase, but also to purchase from any row we choose when it comes to the purchase phase. So we do actually have a red mutation in the cosmic landform, technically inactive, but as per the spore ability we can spore our way up there and purchase that. So we very well may do so. We don't have the chameleon ability, so we have to use one of our few red catalysts to make the purchase, but that's fine. So that will be the red cube we need. So hopefully that will stick around long enough to next turn make the transition to a macroorganism. And then that was green's done in its entirety. Now this is the part I'm not entirely 100% sure about with the turn order structure with parasites going after hosts. So technically the host has been purchased for in its entirety. However, green's turn is not yet over because it still has its main sea stars to worry about. So does green carry on with its overall turn and make another purchase, or does the parasite going straight after the host mean that once all balance in the host have been purchased with, even if someone's turn is not technically over, does the parasite then go? I'm going to go as if it has to be basically finish up your whole turn. So blue has made its purchase in entirety, green has started its purchase with blue's organism, and then will finish its purchasing with its own organism, and then red would go. So feel free to correct me if that's wrong. Leave a comment in the sections, leave a comment in the available area. So green making a purchase will carry on buying up organ cubes, and we need a red organ cube to fill out the eyes. Very handy to have those. And green is basically done with sea stars now. So it was a very short-lived marine organism. It didn't get hit, fortunately, by any bad events. So this will now flip over straight away into a terrestrial life form. So we remove all, because it has filled out its organ area completely, it can now flip straight over into a terrestrial organism. So we simply flip the card over. We do not have to pay a catalyst as part of the cost. This happens automatically. It's making landfall, basically. All Endio symbionts and Trophic biots go back on, and we get some very handily upgraded abilities there. The Trophic level goes back on, so now we are a plant in the terrestrial food chain. So there are two separate ones. There are the marine food chain and the terrestrial food chain, the landform food chain. And all organ cubes go away because those are now listed as system chromosomes on the left hand side again, and we have to start our way up again the organs. So that is very good. So hopefully we won't have a drought anytime soon that will cause us to lose various biomes. Yellow could make a purchase actually, so that might help. Right, so green has finished its purchasing now, so now it is definitely red's parasite to purchase. So it will be able to purchase in basically just the active landform row. It does not have abilities that say otherwise, so that is fine. It can use a yellow catalyst to make a yellow mutation purchase. There. And grab a mutation cube there. So it cannot purchase any more disease cubes, but it can purchase mutations, and it will always try to promote mutations before it makes another purchase. So it will get the best out of its mutations that it can do before it carries on with other purchasing. But for the time being, one mutation is fine. And then yellow has a purchase phase, and yellow, as our handy ally, will certainly try and purchase the drought shield with a blue catalyst. So that will give us the drought shield organ, which is the shelled eggs. Okay, cool. So that will go onto there. Right, so that was a very successful purchase. Very good 200 million years. We managed to get amphibians out of our sea stars. So quite handy, and we are working well on our way to trilobites. So all that is left now is for the event deck to mess us up a bit. Okay, so we have the nitrogen famine. So ocean and coastal are active. So nothing to royal in the coastal, but there is the ocean mutation deck to royal. And then we have 3 smite events. So that is going to strip away a large number of mana from Refugia. So interplanetary dust is shielded, hydrothermal vent is shielded, deep hot biosphere is shielded as per before, but everything else is going to lose 3 cubes basically. So we'll start at the top with the Mars Paleo Ocean. So even though it's green, yellow, red, it's still going to be all the 3 cubes left. So we are going to see a fair number of Refugia disappear, I suspect, this turn. So green Rethrumal again loses 3. The radioactive beach would lose 2 greens and a yellow, so only down to 1 there. The hydrogen volcano will lose all its remaining 3. The warm pond will unfortunately lose its 3, and the geothermal zinc, blimey. So we have nothing left apart from 1 poor disorganized mana in the radioactive beach, and then the various immune refugia towards the top there. So these are all gone. Okay. Well, we weren't really going to assign ourselves to them anyway, I suspect. We may have done for purposes of catalytic or catalyst creation as compensation, but still a bit sad to see them all go, but anyway. Then we have an extremophile event, so I believe we are well protected. So we'll start from the top. Blue has various red chromosomes as extremophile shields, so that's fine. The parasite has a red biont to act as a metabolism chromosome to be an extremophile shield, so that is also fine. And our amphibians have red system chromosomes on the left here to also act in the place of red chromosomes, so that will also be fine. Then we have an O2 attack, so we'll do exactly the same. So we have plenty of green chromosomes and also O2 shields. The parasite fortunately just bought a mutation last round, which will come into play to give it an O2 shield, so it is just about protected. And again, our amphibians have 4 system chromosomes there that will protect it against O2 attacks as well. So that is fine. And then we are continuing with the cooling period, but with no change on the nitrogen famine card. So green to assign first, and then blue, and then the parasites have either been taken as endosymbionts or currently attached, so they will not assign either. So green has 2 bionts it can place out now, I won't forget that extra one. And we are left with basically the ocean landform to assign to, the hydrothermal vent. We do not have the spore ability, so we cannot go anywhere we please, but the hydrothermal vent seems pretty good, so we may as well go there. We can use a couple of catalysts as well to block off poor effects on a 6, so we'll use a blue and a green. Then blue will assign. Blue is currently trapped on the cosmic landform again, the interplanetary dust, so it cannot move, and it does not have any other bionts anywhere else to put out. So blue is assigned as well. We could use a number of catalysts to place out as enzymes. I think we'll use 2 yellows to block mana death on 3s and 4s, and we'll see how that works. So autocatalytic roll, we need 2 for the interplanetary dust. So we are in a cooling period, so 4s will organise mana, but 6s will cause enzyme death, and 4s will cause enzyme death as well actually. That's a tad shameful. So we need to organise a green mana, I believe. And then, 4s won't cause mana death actually, 4s are just enzyme death. So that is actually not too bad at all. So the 4s and the 6s, the 4 will only cause enzyme death, so the enzyme off there. And then the 6 will cause mana death and enzyme death, so we lose our other enzyme. And we have to disorganize the mana with a green catalyst as compensation. You can make, and this is the first time this is, well, technically occurred to me to be honest, you can make a reroll if you are in a similar coloured refugia and it is uncontested. So if interplanetary dust was a blue coloured refugia, then blue as a similar colour could make a reroll if he was there all by himself, and then he would be left with the final roll. But as it is not a similar colour refugia, he cannot reroll the die result. Green could reroll, it is uncontested, and it is the same colour as the balance. So we could reroll the hydrothermal vent. Let's have a look. And actually we may as well do so. We didn't get any 1s, so we're not going to be able to organise any mana whatsoever. So this is of no use to us at all, so we'll do a reroll. You have to reroll all the dice, so it's basically just a fresh roll really. And then you are left with the overall result, and again no 1s, so no mana organisation. But, well, we aren't going to suffer anything on any ill effects either, so we may as well stick around there for the time being and see what we can do with it. So we then come to Darwin rolls. So we have a Darwin roll for the bacteria here. So 6 dice, 4 dice, a further 4. So we need another spare. There we go. That's right, isn't it? 6, 10, 14. Yep. Okay, so all these dice. Plenty of space to roll dice. Now we have eliminated all those refugia. And then that is a worrisome number of 6s. We do have a DNA error shield, but that is still an incredible number of 6s. So the 5s are not going to cause us problems because we do have that DNA shield. We do get some catalysts. We have a triple in 5s, and unfortunately definitely a triple in 6s. So we can re-roll 3 of them. We have 3 hereditary chromosomes, specificity chromosomes, so we'll definitely re-roll 3 of those 6s. So that is not too bad then, that's looking a bit better. We have 2 more 6s that would cause us errors, but we have plenty of hereditary chromosomes to protect, so that is fine. So we need triples there, and then a 1 there, which is going to get us 2. So the 1 will get us 2 catalysts, as per the 2 red cubes we have, and then the triples will get us a further 2 catalysts, and that will quite handily bring our available pool of yellow catalysts to its limit. So that's not too bad at all. And then red would make its Darwin roll, so again it's going to roll 2 for the bar, 1 for the mutation cube. So it does get a reroll because it does have a yellow specificity chromosome, even if it's a mutation cube. So, and it is going to produce a red catalyst as compensation. So that's not too bad at all actually. No errors, so nothing to worry about for the parasite. So I think we may very well take that parasite over as an endosymbiote this turn. Right, so we are into the purchase phase. Green is going to purchase first. So green will probably purchase for its amphibians first now. Let's have a look then. Well, we really have all the important purchases made with the addition of the drought shield. Really, the only other abilities on the organs section are ones we already have as part of the endosymbionts area. So it is now just, well, we could always use maybe another green as part of an O2 shield maybe, or a blue actually as part of an error shield. So if we use a blue catalyst, and by a blue organ, then it won't necessarily give us any more abilities, any better abilities, but it is useful as an error shield in the case of a poor cancer roll. So sure, we'll do that. So a green's purchase there, then we have a green purchase over here. If we are going to go for trilobites, then we could always use an extra blue mutation cube that will turn into an organ. So green as a purchase can promote a mutation. So we spent a red and we will promote the RNA polymerase mutation to give us a blue mutation cube there. So that is fine. Then green's purchasing is done, so now we have blue's purchase. I suspect as part of blue's purchase it will just go straight into trilobites. Well, we can spend 2 catalysts as a similar colour to become a blue catalyst, and we will promote mRNA as a mutation. So we'll flip it over and that will give us a green cube. So that was one of blue's purchases. And then it has a second purchase and we may as well go straight into trilobites. So put the parasite off to one side for just a second. Again, all the mutation cards are lost, but we do get the cubes to put on or spend as necessary, as those ones as well, and the biots will come off. Let's just flip these over quickly and put them back in the coastal row. So the coastal landform does get a few mutations to add to its deck. Then we need to spend 2 red for trilobites, 3 yellows, 2 greens, and a blue. So those will go off, and then they'll come basically back on as system chromosomes on the main body. And then we have 2 left over, which will be the shelled eggs and the chitin cuticles. And so when the parasite comes on, we'll get the red biont as an endosymbiont. The mutation will be lost. We don't need to bother with the yellow cube. That will just go off. And that will also go back to the coastal landform deck. Now this is rather interesting because we actually have sufficient organ cubes to flip straight into a terrestrial organism. So we have filled out all its, well, 2 organs in this case. So actually we will flip it straight over to insects. Excellent. So these 2 will then go off as for system chromosomes. So we don't get to see those. All the endiosymbionts will have been on the marine card and then go straight onto the terrestrial card when it gets flipped. It is blue's organism, so we need 1 blue biont in the trophic level, and then the further blue biont will go on in the endiosymbiont section. And if there were even further bionts that couldn't be therefore put on, they would come off to their owners with compensation. So we have insects. That's pretty good indeed. It unfortunately is not drought shielded at this time, so we might have to see about that before we possibly get a drought event coming up. So blue's purchase, we did a blue purchase here, so we are now going to green's purchase. Or was green first? I have actually lost track. No, I believe green has been, possibly. So we are left either way with red or yellow as ally purchasing. So we can use yellow as an ally to purchase another organ, and we may as well just keep filling out the organ section. So we have a yellow catalyst we can use to buy the bone marrow. That sounds very handy. And then red as an ally now as an NDO symbiont we can use to spend a yellow catalyst to buy that drought shield. That would probably come in handy very soon. So that is definitely all the purchasing done now, I believe. And we are going to go into the next event. However, I'm going to put a quick break in here. Okay, we are back with our brand new macroorganisms, our terrestrial macroorganisms. One thing I did forget to do that would have happened at the end of the purchase phase is that when you have done the whole purchase phase and you have competing terrestrial or marine macroorganisms in the same trophic level, these will then sort themselves out to then occupy different trophic levels. So we have amphibians, and it has 4 red system chromosomes, 3 yellow system chromosomes, and 2 other yellows as well. So a total of 9 red and yellow chromosomes. We have insects, which have 3 red and 4 yellow. So a total of 7 red and yellow chromosomes. So basically, the higher up you are in red and yellow chromosomes, the higher up you are on the trophic level. So amphibians will become the herbivore level, while insects will stay at the plant level. If there were more than that, then obviously they would get assigned as well, so you basically get carnivores, herbivores and plants. And if there were even more, so if you had 4 marine macroorganisms or 4 terrestrial macroorganisms, these would then vie between themselves to become carnivores, herbivores and plants, and the loser, the one that falls down below the plant level essentially, would then go extinct. In the case of marine macroorganisms, you may be able to buy your way into terrestrial macroorganisms, but at the terrestrial level, if there is a competition between the various trophic levels, the overall loser, if they fall below the plant level, will then become fully extinct. So that was just then a reassignment of the various trophic levels based on red and yellow chromosomes, so that should be sufficiently correct now. And we are into the next event. So we have the Gaia ozone layer. Oh, that is incredibly helpful actually. So the Gaia ozone layer is another similar one to the tropical water world, has an ongoing effect. So we need to do cosmic, ocean, coastal first. So cosmic is going to become active. And we need to roll the relevant decks. So again, the continent will stay inactive. I don't believe we have seen any aftershocks that will say otherwise. And part of the Gaia ozone layer is that, as it indeed says, we now get to ignore UV events until the end of the game. So any UV radiation events that would normally strip away our mutations, or in the case of our macroorganisms, organs, these can now be safely ignored because we are protected. We do have an O2 event to worry about, but considering we have multiple green, at least system chromosomes anyway, on our macroorganisms, they are more than happy to ignore the O2 event. So excellent, and we're still in a cooling period. Yep, okay, so we're still in a cooling period. That is fine. We definitely haven't seen any aftershock events, have we? Excuse me. Let's double check that to make sure I'm not... So Pangea breakup, class 3 Carnivaba. So that would have been the very first one, I believe. No, I don't think we've actually seen any aftershock events after the tropical water world came out. So that would indicate we are still fine to have it sitting around there, so that'd be fine. So in assignment phase we have yellow, then blue, red and green. Yellow is currently an endosymbiont, so it's not going to assign itself. So blue has its bound on the interplanetary dust, and we could quite happily leave it there, or maybe come across the deep hot biosphere. Let's go across to the deep hot biosphere actually. We do have sufficient catalysts that we can start using as enzymes. So blue will assign and it will basically switch itself out. We do have to give up a catalyst to the deep hot biosphere to get in there in the first place, but now we're in there, blue could also we use one catalyst as an enzyme to block off matter death on a 5. Green is in the hydrothermal vent and will quite happily stay there. We'll keep rolling and trying to get all this disorganized matter organized. So that was the assignment phase. As I said, the parasites are now endiosymbionts, so they will not assign anywhere. So we need a autocatalytic roll for the deep hot biosphere. And it is a cooling period, so mana will organize on a 1 and a 2, but in this case just a 1. So actually we are going to get 1 mana out of it, so we'll give a red up to the top. Then the hydrothermal vent, so mana again will only organize on a 1, but we will not suffer mana death, so that's quite handy. We did roll doubles, so we could create life, but I think just the 1 blue organised matter at the top is not quite enough to warrant turning it into life just yet, so that's okay. Then we no longer do Darwin rolls for our various organisms, because they are macroorganisms. And we have no cancer rolls to worry about because none have come up as events on cards. So it's just basically the purchase phase, and we really want to purchase as many organs as possible now and try and survive our way to the end game. So turn order is blue purchasing first. So basically we have 2 organs it can purchase for. There are no chameleon abilities unfortunately anymore. So at least for insects, we can only really purchase with yellow catalysts. So blue will make a purchase with a yellow catalyst, and will purchase the clotting hemolymph, I believe that is. So that is that. And then blue will purchase, well, we do have a green catalyst that we can use to buy the pancreas and the gallbladder. So there. Blue could make a second purchase for the insects. It does have another endiosymbiont. It does have another biont, sorry. But considering we no longer have sufficient colour catalysts in the right colours to buy the various blue organs, I think we'll leave the purchasing alone for the insects for the time being. Blue is finished with amphibians, so now it falls to, well, actually technically it should have been yellow to make a purchase first, but we could just skip it. So yellow would have been skipped, then blue, then red to purchase. Again, red will skip out purchasing for insects because we no longer have the right colours left. And then it is green to purchase, so green will miss out insects. Green could try and purchase for amphibians, but we only have red and blue left, and we need a yellow for the yellow organ. So we will leave that alone for the time being, and we'll just save our catalysts for the future. So we are done with purchasing. That was reasonably quick, and we'll go into the next event. So we have orbital bobbing. We can now safely, in fact what I will do is I will take out the Gaia ozone layer and just leave it to the side to remind myself that O2 events UV radiation in future can now be ignored. So we would have to give up various organs, at least for amphibians, because they are multiple organs, or at least one organ over the limit of 3 allowed in the UV radiation. But as per the ozone layer, we get to ignore UV events for the time being. So cosmic and continent. Continent is still inactive. So just the cosmic. Oh, getting the decks mixed up there a tad. So there we go. Technically, we aren't going to make any future mutation purchases, hopefully, for the rest of the game, but the decks still need to be roiled, so we will dutifully roil the decks. And then we have a smite, which will unfortunately remove the radioactive beach, so it will lose its last mana cube and then go out of the game, and the remaining ones are protected from smite, so they are fine. Then we have an extremophile event. However, all of our organisms have sufficient red system chromosomes to protect against an extremophile event, so they are fine. Then we have cancer rolls. This is where it could get interesting. So cancer rolls are very similar to a Darwin roll. You basically have to roll dice for bounce. So it is going to be green in turn order first, so we'll do green's organism first. So dice for balance, so 6 dice, and then dice for organs. You fortunately do not have to roll dice for the system chromosomes, otherwise you'd be rolling quite a lot in this case. So 10 dice in total, and again, 5s and 6s will cause you errors. We do have the cancer shield ability, as produced by this yellow endiosymbiont and the yellow organ. So only 6s will now cause us errors, but that is still rather worrisome. So, alright, we have A6, and luckily we did have the cancer shield, so the 5s aren't going to cause us problems, and a 1. Okay. So, similar to a Darwin roll, 5s and 6s, but only 6s at the moment will cause us errors, and we do have sufficient blue chromosomes to shield against the error, so that is fine. We do not get specificity rerolls, that is only for microorganisms. And we did roll a 1, so again, similar to a Darwin roll, a 1 will generate a catalyst of your choice of colour this time. So we do need a yellow organ there, so we will generate a yellow catalyst. And then insects, so blue will now make its excuse me, blue will now make its roll. So for insects, and we need to be rolling 8 dice for the bounce and 2 dice for the organs. And we do have a cancer shield as well on insects, so that is fine. Okay, so yep, we only have to suffer 1 6, and we have sufficient chromosomes to shield against it, and then another 1 rolled as well, so we do get a catalyst of our choice of compensation, and considering we need some blue organs, we may as well get a blue catalyst. So all the events have been done with, so the cancer roll, UV radiation doesn't come up, and then we are in a cooling period. So now we can assign, and I believe we're quite happy where we are in the relevant refugia, so we'll leave ourselves there. So into autocatalytic rolls, deep hot biosphere is going to be rolling 3. So no 6s, fortunately, another 1 to organise mana, so we'll put up a green, and then onto the hydrothermal vent. We could create another life form with a deep hot biosphere. I think we're okay there for the time being. We'll keep going, and we'll see if we can't make it a bit stronger. And then 5 dice for the hydrothermal vent, and no 1s at all. We can re-roll, so green as the only, so it's an uncontested refugia, and green matches the colour, so we can re-roll, which we will do so. And still no ones. So, okay. Well, that's fair enough then. So now we do, well, no Darwin rolls to do, but we can do purchasing. So it is going to be red to purchase first, so I'll get the colour order right this time. And red may as well make a purchase for us for insects. And using a blue catalyst, purchase a blue organ. And then green is next, so green could make a purchase for blue's organism, but we are out of similar colour cubes, so that's fine. And then green can make a purchase for its own organism using the yellow catalyst to make a yellow organ cube, and that will fill up the amphibian organs. So nothing further happens if you fill up your terrestrial organism organs. You just have a very, hopefully stable, evolved life form there. And then we will basically skip out the purchases for everyone else. So basically the only purchases a macroorganism can do is purchasing organ cubes and purchasing Red Queen attacks against any parasites that may attach themselves. So purchasing is very short basically when it comes to macroorganisms. So we will now go straight into the next event. And oh dear, okay, this is a problem. So we have the comet impactor, which is going to be an aftershock, so a tropical water world will come straight off, and that will go out. And it is going to be an aftershock, so we need some more. Wow, that's quite a lot of warming in a row. So that's going to be Mackenzie flood basalt, and we need, so oceans become active, and then the continent will finally become active, and more on that deck, and the cosmic is inactive, so that is fine. Right, so we have smite events, which fortunately will not do anything at all, because the current refugia are shielded against smite. We have refugia creation, so coming from below, we get one from the active continent landform, which is the solar storm clouds, like so. We then have an extremophile, and it is going to be a triple extremophile, so all the extremophile events add up, so 1 there, 2 there, so a total of 3. Amphibians is just about fine with its 4 red system chromosomes to protect itself. Insects is also fine, it has 2 red system chromosomes, the red biont endosymbiont, and also the blue endosymbiont providing further extreme file shielding, so it will be fine for that. We have a UV radiation, and as per the comet impactor, we ignore the ozone protection layer this turn. So normally we wouldn't have to suffer it because we have the Gaia ozone layer. However, the comet impactor basically punches through our ozone layer, creates a big hole, and we have to suffer UV radiation. So we now have to discard down to, in the case of macroorganisms, 3 organs. So insects are fine, they are currently at 3, so they will stay at 3. Amphibians, however, are at 5, so we have to lose 2 of their organs. So if we take off, if we take off the divided heart, that's not giving us any ability, so we can lose that quite possibly. And well, the liver can probably be lost as well. So we will lose those 2 organs. and we will quite possibly have to buy them back again later. So now we're at 3 organs, so that is fine. We then have double warming periods, so that will come into play in a second. We have the Smite event, so that is only going to affect now the Tholin storm clouds that were just put out, and they will lose their yellow cube. Then we have a Cancer roll, so we'll do the relevant Cancer roll. So we need to be rolling, so blue is, do blue first, so 8 dice and then 3 for the organs. Okay. Oh dear, that's a number of 6s. We should be fine. So we still have the Cancer shield, so we're only going to suffer errors on a 6, which we have a number of. Fortunately, we have sufficient blue chromosomes to shield against them. So that is also fine, and we have a number of 1s that will provide catalysts of our choice. So a blue, and we'll go for 2 blues, like so. Then we come down to the amphibians, who we're going to be rolling 6 dice plus a further 3. So there we do have a Cancer shield. I believe that was that a 1? Okay. So no 6s, that's very handy. A couple of 1s, so we will grab 2 yellow catalysts as per the 1s. So we came through those Cancer rolls remarkably well. We have a further UV radiation event, which will not happen because we are already at the limit of 3, so that is fine. And then we are done with all of that, so we just have, well, 3 warming periods in a row. Fortunately, the tropical water world got removed by the aftershock before we could slide into Armageddon, but we are still incredibly close. So if the next one that comes up is a warming period, we are, even though we are so close to making through with terrestrial organisms, we are still going to lose due to Armageddon. Right. So deep hot biosphere. Right. So it's the summit phase first, and blue to go. I think we could safely leave ourselves on a deep hot biosphere as it is. And again with green we can leave ourselves on the hydrothermal vent as an assignment. So we'll go into the autocatalytic roll. So the deep hot biosphere needs 4 dice. Warming period, so 1s and 2s to organise matter. Oh, there is a further 2. So all that will come up. Unfortunately, no doubles. So even though we have all the matter organised, and we would very much like to turn this into a life form, we do not have doubles, so we cannot flip it over. So hopefully next turn. Then the hydrothermal vent, rolling 5 dice. So 1s will organise, so we could bring up those 2, say, and then no ill effects, and we do have doubles. So yeah, we will now create life on the hydrothermal vent. So disorganized matter goes back, as does enzymes. And then this is green's organism, as green is the only one on the card. So green will get another organism, microorganism to play with. Okay. And then this will go into green's area as a further organism. Let's move down the amphibians. We'll put our fresh organism up there. Okay. Right, so now we do have something for a Darwin roll. So green will be rolling 7 dice for the Darwin roll. Dear, that's problem. So this is where all the bad die rolls have been saving up for. We have 1 specificity chromosome, so we can reroll 1 of these errors. Oh, no, okay, if it's an error, it's an error. Right. So we have 4 errors and no mutations which provide DNA shielding. So these are all going to be errors now, not just 6s. We have one, excuse me, we have one, sorry, hang on a second. We have one hereditary chromosome to protect ourselves, so that will cancel out one of the errors. However, 3 of them will still apply. So we are going to lose these 3 chromosomes on the card, leaving ourselves with just the biopsy now. That is looking a very fragile organism indeed. Right, you could take off bounce first. Well, you can take off bounce when it comes to chromosomes and bounce on the card. You are not limited to taking off the chromosomes first, only mutations first when it comes to atrophy. So we could leave on, well, maybe we'll leave on one blue chromosome. We'll take off one of the biopsies, which will come back with compensation. So on a future Darwin roll, we'll at least have one error shield, although to be honest I don't expect this to last very long at all really. Okay, and then that was the Darwin roll, so now we come to purchase phase. So blue is first, and blue will make the only purchase relevant for the insects in purchasing that remaining organ cube. And blue could also purchase for green's organism down here, and it may as well do so, it has a blue to spend, so we will purchase again a relevant organ. Then we come to yellow, so yellow can purchase for the amphibians for us, and we have the yellow catalyst, so we will purchase back all our lost organs. Then it comes to red. Well, red is of no further purchasing use for the insects because we are full up with organs. So then it will be green, and green cannot purchase for amphibians because again we are full up with organs. So it will purchase for its microorganism. And we do want something that will hopefully protect us for next turn maybe. So if we grab, where are we, the coastal, the ocean landform only, or the continent. So we are in the ocean, we are in the continent area for purchasing ability. So we do have a yellow, we do have a green we can buy. Let's go for the yellow. So we'll spend a yellow catalyst, like so, and that will give us an O2 shield in the case of an O2 event, and a specificity chromosome in the case of a poor Darwin roll. So we'll leave it at that. And then we are done with the purchasing, so we're into the final event. Phew. It is not a warming, so we do not suffer Armageddon. It is an aftershock, but there are no more events to come out, so it will just be on its own. So in the case of an aftershock where there is no superseding of the landform rows, you basically go to, I believe, the one below it to indicate what is currently active and inactive. So continent will stay active, ocean will stay active, and we'll roll the relevant decks. Okay, and then we have that. So we now have a drought, which is what we've been worrying about for our terrestrial organisms, but we haven't seen it yet. So basically a drought will cause atrophy if you're terrestrial, and drought only affects terrestrial organisms, not marine ones. It will only cause atrophy if you do not have the relevant drought shield purchased with your organs or endiosymbionts. So fortunately for both of our organisms, they do have the relevant drought shield ability, so they will not suffer loss due to atrophy. So that is fine. We have a further refugio creation from the top down. So ocean has exhausted all of its refuges, so we'll come down to the continent to put out the final one there, the eutectic brine. And we need the relevant cubes. And then we have a couple of O2 attacks, but I believe, so amphibians are fine, they have sufficient green chromosomes to protect. Insects are also fine, they have sufficient green chromosomes. Our poorly stripped away microorganism for green, however, is going to suffer. So it only has one entropy chromosome, so it can only shield against one of the O2. Oh, no, I tell a lie, it does have an O2 shield, which we just purchased. So actually, it will be able to protect itself just about from the O2 attack. So that's not too bad at all. And then all the events are done with, so we do not have to worry about Armageddon. So we do a final assignment. Green has one bound it can assign. So it would be blue first, so you'd follow the previous turn order, as the Aftershock card does not show a turn order. So blue would go first. I think we're happy in the deep hot biosphere as we are. It is a lockdown landform anyway, so we cannot reassign if we want, even if we wanted to. Green can assign itself somewhere. However, the only available area is basically the continent. There is nothing in the active ocean. So we could go, we may as well go to the eutectic brine just for the hell of it. So we'll do that. And then we do autocatalytic rolls. So the deep hot biosphere, we are rolling 6 dice, and we don't want to see sixes. We don't have any more mana to organise, so we just want a couple of doubles, basically. Well, there is a 6 that will cause not only enzyme death, but also mana death. We'll take down one of the reds, and we'll give the catalyst a blue as compensation, since it's the only one on the card. We did roll doubles, so we can very well create a life form, and we may as well do so. So disorganized mana comes off, and we do get that for blue. So that will come into blue's area as a brand new life form. Let's just place it up here. Not going to be there very long. Then we need the eutectic brine, so a couple of dice for green. We did get to organise mana, so a warring period, so 1s, 2s, 3s will organise mana. We will organise, say, a red mana. However, the 5 will cause mana death, so back down, unfortunately, with a catalyst as compensation to green. Then we do Darwin rolls, so the relevant ones for Darwin rolls are going to be blue first in turn order, so it will roll for its brand new microorganism. So 5 dice in total. Oh, I suspect it may suffer the same fate as green's microorganism. So no DNA shield ability, and even so 6s would be unaffected by it. So we can shield against 2 of them. We have no rerolls with the 2 blue hereditary chromosomes. However, 1 error will still creep through as an atrophy, and we will take off the red metabolism chromosome. And we did roll a triple, so we will get a yellow catalyst into blue's area anyway. Then green will roll for its organism, and it's going to be 2 for the bounce, 2 for the cubes. So again, it's not doing too well with these rolls. So we do have a specificity chromosome, so we can reroll one of the errors, and it is still coming up as an error. So again, unfortunately, we can only shield against 1 of them with the blue, so 1 will come through as an atrophy, and we will have to lose the mutation first. So that will go back to the ocean landform as the home row. and the yellow cube will get lost. Right, so that was the Darwin rolls. Now we're into purchasing. Well, I believe we can essentially skip out purchasing for amphibians because there's nothing left to purchase. We can skip out purchasing for insects because again there's nothing left to purchase. So blue in the purchase phase will come along for its microorganism first, and we could purchase from the cosmic home row even though it's inactive, the ocean because it is active, and the continent because it is active. Really, there is not much use in purchasing at the moment because it is technically the last turn, so we will not get anything out of it, but we may as well give our brand new microorganisms the best chance they could possibly have. And then green will make a purchase, and again we could purchase from the active continent landform with our green catalyst. So that is that. And then we are done. So we have come to the end of the game, so on the final event we have finished the overall turn structure. And we have survived. So there are two types of win in a solo game. There is the marine win if both of your main colours are either owning, as in is in their area, a marine macroorganism, or are on as an endiosymbiont. So, for example, if amphibians was the only macroorganism around, then it would still be classed as a win because blue is on there as an endiosymbiont, even though green is the owner. So, a marine win is if you are in marine macroorganisms. However, the terrestrial win is if you are in as terrestrial organisms. So we did achieve a terrestrial win. We do have both trophic balance and endiosymbiont balance for the colours in terrestrial organisms, so that's pretty good. I believe the solo game is slightly a bit more forgiving, if not for the dice rolls, then for the fact you can actually use your your ally endosymbionts to buy for you, basically. So if you manage to take over the parasites, you can then use them to buy mutations and organs and the like, which will accelerate your shielding of your organisms against poor events that may come up. So it is incredibly useful for that. But nonetheless, we did manage to get the relevant organisms out. So the next step, this is if you are playing with BIOS Megafauna as well, the new edition I believe, is that you can take, in a win, you can take your newly formed macroorganisms and transport them to the Megafauna game to aid in the start there. So I will definitely have to see how that works and give it a try. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was quite a lengthy one, and if I did make mistakes, and I'm certain there were mistakes there to be made, then by all means please point them out in the comments. If you are interested in this game, then I would suggest that you take a look at a series of videos done by Grey Board Gamer, again up on the Board Game Geek website. He has done a very comprehensive and in-depth play of the game. It is well worth a watch if you are interested in that kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.